podcast, bringing you the latest news, general perspective, and competitive discussion.
Hello and welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Kyle. I'm here with Tim and Jay. What's up, gentlemen?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
This is the second episode in the row where I'm not second anymore. I missed one episode and I've been downgraded to the third scoundrel. That's disappointing.
It didn't even occur to me. I think it's because on my screen I have Tim. Oh, that's mirrored. That's interesting. I have Tim on my left and you on my right. So like I read from left to right, you know?
Yeah, sure, Kyle. You know, you could come up with any excuse you want. All I heard was third billing in this podcast.
We'll do you second next time, Jay.
Please. That's all I ask. You know, I don't ask you for much. Just second billing.
Yep, got it. Well, today we're gonna talk. We got some yet more Shadow Collective reveals. My favorite one so far. Not Darth Maul. Maul a Rival. Is his official title. And then we're going to continue our Force user discussion with basically how to build a list around a Force user. Like what do you actually take with a Force user if you want to use one? And how do you use those things alongside said Force user? So, but first, let's do housekeeping.
So that's me. Third billing, have to do the house cleaning. You know, I'm feeling a lot of negativity here. It's like I have to clean. I come in third. I don't know.
You know what, Jay? You are the the only qualified person here to do housekeeping.
I don't like this anymore. That's exactly what we tell our kids when we want them to do the dishes. But you're so good at it. So anyways, let's talk Stormtide. So Stormtide's our monthly narrative that we've been doing since August, so about 9 months now. And if you haven't heard, we are actually taking a 2-month, let's call it a sabbatical. We're just taking a break. There's a couple of reasons. One, we were looking at some of the numbers, and after talking to some of the people who have been doing Stormtide, they're way behind, right? Like they haven't been able to catch up with all the missions we've been putting out. And so we wanted to give them a chance to catch up. And this is for people who aren't on season 2 box 3. So if you're before season 2 box 3, we're still shipping yours to catch you up. And ideally we'll catch, by the time July rolls around, we'll have caught everybody up, and then we can send out season 2 box 4. And so basically what's happened is we're just taking a 2-month break, letting people catch up. We've had like real supply chain issues, as have the rest of the world, and so it allows us to catch up and kind of get ahead a little bit. And then number 3, we've got some new artists on, we've got some new writers on. John is new and kind of had to pick up where Mike left off and kind of roll with that. And so we never gave anybody a break to kind of catch our breath, right? We just kept moving. And so we just thought this was a great time to just take a 2-month break. Let you, the customer, take a break. Let us, the developers, take a break. Everybody take a break, and we'll reconvene in July with season 2 box 4. And I just think it's good for everybody. And so basically what we did was we just paused everybody's subscriptions. No one's getting charged for the next couple months. As much as I would love to charge everybody, we're not, of course. And, we wanted that to be as fair and reasonable for everyone, including us and you and everyone else. So we're still doing Stormtide. You could sign up today. Actually, if you sign up this month, by the time the pause ends, you'll be caught up. So you could sign up today, get season 2 box 1 through 3 before we start the next seasons and the next quarter. So that's going on. Let's see what else. We are, for those of you who pre-ordered mats and sidebars, they are due in any moment into the shipping catastrophe that is the world. They're somewhere, and so they're supposed to be here about mid-May, which is the next week or so. I that's been holding kind of true, the timelines we've had on that. So we should have more information on that soon. So if you pre-ordered, I understand you pre-ordered back in March, or or even maybe late February, and you've been waiting and waiting. I swear they're coming, and so they'll be here any moment. Then the rest of the stuff. Hey, we have Star Wars Legion. We just did a great May the 4th deal. We're back to our regular 10% off, but keep an eye out because we're going to keep rolling those deals. Especially, we're going to talk about Maul today, so especially when Shadow Collective stuff comes out, we'll roll some more deals, which is soon, couple months. And then as always, you get support us on our Patreon. That we have a blogging staff, which we're actually growing. We've put out an offer to 3 more writers, so we're going to be putting more staff on for writing articles, so you guys will have more content that you could ever want, and Patreon helps us do that. So if you want to support that, do that at any dollar level, that'd be great. And all our tools: Legion Stream, Legion HQ, Legion Quick Guide, Legion Stats. We have all the tools, and you can use them all.
Awesome.
Was that good?
Yep.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad I have your approval, Kyle.
Tim told me that before we started that I did a pretty garbage job of plugging everything on. I was on turn 0 this week. Apparently I did a bad job, so
Yeah.
I think I did okay.
I mean,
housekeeping.
you yourself said you did a bad job
Yeah,
on the cast, so
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I guess one last thing. Sorry, John just updated the ELO rankings too.
He
So
did.
if you guys didn't see
Yes.
that, ELO rankings are updated as well. And if you don't know what those are us rating you and how good you are at Legion. And so we're doing that for free. So
Yep.
enjoy.
It's very, very judgmental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all
No.
we have a private server on this end. We all just laugh. We just laugh at you for being so bad.
very, very judgmental, pure, cold-hearted numbers.
So
Yeah,
I think
it's-
I didn't even look. I think I'm like 150 or something. Like it doesn't even matter.
It's just a fun,
Yeah.
thing for us to fret about.
Yeah.
What's my ELO?
That's right. You want an
Yeah.
easy way to get your name on the 5th Trooper? Get ranked on ELOs. That's the easiest
On the
way.
website, yeah.
Play
Which all
10
you have to do is
games.
play 10 games. So,
Yep.
yeah. So go check those out. It was just I believe the real life ELO that was updated, not Invader ELO. So,
Yeah.
Which I'm not in at this point. I don't know if I think it was the day after we recorded last week. Essentially, my group fell victim to the dreaded 3-way tie, with 3 4-1 records at the top, and I was the 3rd out of the 3 for victory point totals. So, it's I'm not in elims for the first time as I played Invader. So,
And guess who is for the first time
yeah.
since he's played Invader? This guy.
yeah, this guy Jay Shalansky. Yep, and Tim,
With
you're in too, right?
Rebels, y'all.
Yeah.
That was expected though. The rest of the guys are all really good. I'm like the terrible one on the team. I
Yeah.
thought it was Evan, and then at Adepticon he goes top 4. It's me. I'm the bad one on our team. I got to show you guys.
You are not bad, Jay. You're
Not
good at Star
good.
Wars Legion. Yeah, so I get to root all you guys on for for this season. So
Good.
I'm rooting for Team 5th Trooper. Hopefully not too many team kills in
I mean,
the regional elims.
it looks like Lucas and I might do a bit of a team kill either first or second round. So
Okay.
just depends on how we're probably going to be in the same quadrant and maybe even same round 1. So that would suck, but oh well.
Yeah. Well, on the plus side, one of you guys is make it out of
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
that's always my view with team kills. Like, it sucks that somebody has to lose, but it also guarantees that one of you two is going to advance. So
Right.
Yep.
It's bittersweet. Anyway, I'll be rooting for you guys and everyone else in Invader. So
No. Just us.
I mean, mostly you guys, clearly.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
anyway, should we talk about Maul, a rival?
All right.
So for so I'm very excited about this. I am a big fan of Darth Maul, slash Maul generally.
I'm gonna
I've
be
seen-
honest with you. I'm mostly confused about it. So I'm not really excited. I'm just mostly confused.
So I have you seen the Clone Wars TV show?
Some of it.
Okay. I mean, this is all this part of Maul, this version of Maul is essentially entirely from the Clone Wars TV show, and then to a very small extent, Star Wars Rebels.
Mhm.
I mean, reading these cards, this is
this is all Clone Wars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Primarily season 6 and 7 of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So Clone Wars is like, if you want to catch up on Clone Wars, I'd say like what 40% of the episodes are just like objectively
Just
bad filler.
Yeah.
And the other 60% are awesome.
Yeah.
So there's people have posted like guides online as to like, if you want to kind of plow through Clone Wars, these are the episodes you should watch, and these are the episodes you should skip. So
Yeah, actually, last time we brought up Clone Wars, I was like, nope, haven't really watched it. And
Yeah.
one of our listeners sent me that comprehensive list of what I should watch, and I still haven't made it through it. I'm sorry, I just
no, it's a lot.
yeah.
I mean,
It's a lot.
If nothing else, season 7 and or 6 and 7 are just incredible.
They're very good.
It's not as good if you don't have as much emotional investment in all the
Mhm.
characters, but they're great.
See, I'm more of like a YouTube lurker where I'm like,
Mm.
I watched the Ahsoka versus Maul fight, and then I just kind of get the context from that, and I go, yeah, all right, I
That is
got
a
it.
really good fight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So the title Arrival is from Clone Wars. That's I won't entirely ruin the scene, but that is in fact Palpatine that confers that title on Maul. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's what it's from.
Yeah.
It's from when he's attempting to basically take over Mandalore, which he sort of succeeds at some point. And that's why he ends up with the Darksaber. So that's why he has the Darksaber in his Shadow Collective version, to explain the theme there. If you want more, go watch Clone Wars.
You know what? I know we're going to talk about the Legion part. You know what the interesting thing is? Did you see on the back of his card, he's got the Sabak logo? That seems weird. So if you look at his card, there's like a what's that watermark behind like Allies of
Oh,
Convenience
yeah.
and stuff. It's the Sabak logo.
Interesting.
Yeah, that means that he is a sorry, my printer was freaking out for no
Means he's a
particular reason.
wild card.
No, that means he's a mercenary unit.
Yeah.
Which we don't know exactly what that means yet. But that is essentially a catch-all for units that don't belong to a particular faction. People were freaking out about the 2 gray dots next to his affiliation. So there's basically like 3 relevant things on each of these cards, right? That would seem to indicate how you can use them. If you look at like one of the like let's say the Black Sun card, right, which we've already talked about, you have the Black Sun faction affiliation logo, which is in the upper left, and then you have 2, in this case, 2 faction symbols, which are Empire and Droids, I think. And then you also have the Sabak logo in the back watermark in the background of the keyword area. So basically, as far as we know from what AMG has told us, that means that they're a mercenary unit. We don't know exactly what that means. They've said there might be some kind of cap on how many you can take. They've definitely said they don't count towards your minimums. So, like Black Sun, if they're a mercenary, they don't count towards your core minimums. Same with Pikes. And then they've said that those gray circles in the upper left, those are the factions that can actually just take them, I guess just about any list. Clearly, if there's like faction specific battle forces, they might tell you otherwise. But if you're just making like a quote unquote normal Empire or separatist list, presumably you can take Black Sun in said list, and they just won't count towards your core minimums. There was much hubbub on the Discord when Maul's card was revealed because he has 2 gray circles where those faction symbols would otherwise be. and they were speculating like, did they grade these out? Are these redacted? Can you actually take him on other factions? I don't think so. They've said publicly that Maul will be Shadow Collective only. So thematically, it also seems weird for him to go in any of the other factions. So
It seems odd that you would even put that there, though.
I don't know. Maybe it's
Like-
something with their printing. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just to mirror the format of the other mercenary units. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think anything is redacted. I think that they're just blank gray circles.
Well, I mean, and they're also not quite actually like blank gray circles. They're actually like there's like
there's a texture.
texture to them.
Yeah.
So it's not like they like quick Photoshop job
yeah.
of
Yeah.
redacting. It's not like it doesn't look like redacted circles. It looks
Well,
like
it could be something like, remember Magic when something didn't have, it was just like a gray circle and you could use it for anything. Like maybe there's something. I know that they said he was going to be Shadow Collective, but it could be in the future. There's a card that's like, oh, if you have one of these gray circles, then you can do this or something.
Who knows?
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the bottom line is, at least based on what they've told us, he will be Shadow Collective only. And Shadow Collective is not a faction, also based on what they've told us. We don't really know what that means in practice. It's going to be some kind of whether they're calling it a battle force or not, it's going to be similar in that it has like sort of a more restricted thing, force org, whatever you want to call it, where they tell you what you can take. So that's what we know based on random painting streams and other things that they've dropped at like Mini Stravaganza and in other places. So I would expect this Maul to be only usable in the Shadow Collective, whatever we're calling it. Battle Force. Let's call it Battle Force.
So far in my local group, I've been saying like mercenary units in factions and then mercenary units proper. It's just referred to as whatever thing ends up being the place that is them all together.
Yep. So how about we talk about his unit card here?
All right.
Looks pretty familiar.
Looks almost it's almost the same as his separatist version. So the key differences here. We already talked about the Shadow Collective symbol, the gray circle thingies, and the Sabbat card. He does not have 2 training slots. Instead, he has a command slot instead of the second training slot, and then he has an armament slot, which is for something specific, which we'll get to in a minute. But he has 2 new keywords on here. So he's got all the same keywords that Separatist Maul has. And then he also has Allies of Convenience, which we've seen before on that upgrade that was previewed. The reminder text, your army may include 1 additional mercenary unit of any rank. We have no idea what that means yet.
Right. And we thought we did, but now this throws, if he's only Shadow Collective, then this doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it could just be that like, the reminder text. The reminder text is there and it's the same.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder. Yeah, you're right. There's probably like a deeper rules or a couple paragraphs will be in the RG regarding this, and then this is just the reminder of what it means. And then
the second part I think is what's more relevant from all, which is you can issue orders to friendly mercenary units regardless of affiliation. So regardless of what the first rank part means, it seems important that if he's in a battle force with a bunch of other mercenary units, that he should be able to give them orders. So we don't know if that does anything with self-preservation or anything like that, but okay. And then the other new keyword on here is wound 1. The first time you enter play, suffer 1 wound. So he starts the game with a wound token. I have a take on this, but I want to hear your guys' take first.
It's slightly worse than CIS Maul because it takes away the ability to have a free wound. However, it also opens up your command card choice a little bit.
Yeah, I don't like it because I get what it does, right? And I get why, but you're basically starting at 5 health, right? Which I think for force user or a lightsaber user, we'll call him, in this case, that's bad. Like I'd rather have my full, so you have some more options, to begin with. And I know we're going to talk about his cards and they do some trickery to fix that, but like I don't know, it just seems iffy. Like that could get dangerous, I feel, quickly.
So, as someone who has played a lot of Maul, I think this actually gives you more options.
Okay.
And that is because he essentially doesn't function hardly at all without Geo Mastery. Like, clearly you can do some stuff, but like, he doesn't have charge, he doesn't have relentless, he doesn't have master of the force. Without Geo Mastery, he's just a dude with a lightsaber printed out his card. So generally, as soon as you want Maul to start doing things, you need him to be wounded. Now, clearly, that can be from him getting shot. But generally, in my experience, if that happens, that's like a pretty unpredictable way to be wounded for Juyo. Like 90% of the time, to make that happen, I play it last as a Maul player. And the situations where you want him to like start the game with 6 wounds are basically where you essentially mess up some kind of infiltrate and your opponent can see you and you didn't think they could. So to me, this feels like a straight benefit because it allows you to save at last for when you actually need a 1-pip and not, the first time that you want to activate Juyo Mastery, because you always have Juyo Mastery active and you also always have Tenacity active if you take that. So
yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. I think that's fair. It just like to me like this, but it also starts to trigger stuff like Hunter. So like if I have Hunter on Bosk, like I'm gonna get that aim if I'm shooting at you. You know what I mean? If I can catch you in the open, it does add. I think I hear what you're saying, but and maybe I'm wrong. You've played it much more than I have, but it just seems to add like another level of complexity that maybe you have to think about a little bit more. Where before you were like, no, I can get in the, that's okay. I'll take this shot so that I get the, but you got to choose when that happened. Where now now you don't. That's not a choice with him, but maybe that's nothing.
Playing against Maul, like I do agree that it adds more options, but it also means like with Maul, you often have sort of a little bit of insurance padding right off the bat, where that first turn or two where you're just double moving or move dodging, you can like especially if if the line of sight blocker you need to be behind is like not super huge, you can be like, okay, there's 1 unit on that side. I'm gonna hang. If I'm gonna get shot, it'll be by 1 unit, and then I might take a wound, but big whoop, I was gonna take it anyway. So.
Yeah, there are those handful of times where maybe you just don't have a better choice and you can't hide him, and then those are the situations where you're going to feel more limited by this. But most of the time, it's going to be kind of freeing to not have to play it last to get Juyo started.
Yeah,
I think, especially since I guess we can talk about that armament slot. This version of Maul can get cunning, which means that those 1-pips have extra value for going first. Now, at last kind of historically allows you to take 3 1-pips, which you can still do. But his command cards are basically, he has a 3-pip that counts as a 1-pip when hand building. So if you take all of his new command cards, then you end up with a 6-card hand, but it's a normal 6-card hand, 2 1-pips, 2 2-pips, 2 3-pips, basically. Yeah. So clearly you could take ambush instead of witch magic, which is this card, but
witch magic's pretty good.
It's really good.
So. Yeah, I like that. I was like, I don't think that's a choice. What are you talking about, man? Yeah. That's crazy.
I mean, you could do it.
That card's stupid good.
Yeah. So you want to read it, Jay?
Yeah. So you have to nominate the Shadow Collective Maul or whatever that symbol means. While building command hand, you treat this card as though it has 1 pip. Tim and I were talking about this before you got on, and that like broke my brain for a second. I was like, what? So when you're building your command hand, it's treated as 1 pip, but it's a 3 pip when you're playing it, basically.
Yep, it's the exact opposite of that last.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it allows you to remove up to 2 wound tokens and any number of poison or immobilized tokens from Maul, which, Tim, you said.
I mean, that just goes ding, 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 burst of speed.
Yep.
See, I don't think that's necessarily true.
I still don't think it might. I think it's it doesn't make it an automatic take.
Yeah,
but you can do some things.
It's a use of it.
Yeah, like it's in combination with burst of speed, it could be.
It stops them. Like, okay, because somebody who plays Luke with bursts of speed, like a lot of times I'm kind of waiting to use that because I know I'm gonna be wherever I go. That's it. That's where he's gonna be for a turn, right? And so with this, it kind of takes that and goes, nah, he'll be fine. He could go and do something else if he wanted. And then, not to forget the last thing on this card, when he activates, he recovers. And I said that to Tim. Tim's like, I didn't even read that part.
Yeah.
I saw the other stuff. And
yeah, I read the 2 wounds and blah, 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 and sort of just went, blah, oh yeah, I get the gist, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no, recover is, especially because he doesn't have Master of the Force. It's real good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. So I think clearly this is the text on this card is great. The fact that you have to essentially pay use a 1 pip slot to take a 3 pip is certainly a cost. Less of a cost because Maul can do the reverse with his other cards. But I mean, this is quite a wall of text. I think my favorite part is the wound tokens.
Yep.
That's the most like obviously useful part on this card.
Yep.
This is the only command card I think that
I was saying before, it's like I think it's the first. I'm pretty sure it's the first heal command card.
Yep. And Jedi / Sith / Force user wounds are arguably the most valuable wounds in the game, on like a per wound basis. So 2 wounds, that's 33% of his health. So yes, he starts out wounded. Arguably, you want that wound anyway for Judo Mastery, but then, when he gets down to 3 wounds, you just play this card, and then he's back up to 5.
Yeah.
So he functionally, like, clearly, this is a 3 pip. So the turn you're playing this year is seeding priority, which may not be great. But essentially, he has 7 health, right? Like functionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't get burst, like take a bunch of burst damage real quick.
Right. Like if if you're getting maximum use out of this, that means that he has 3 health. But there are a lot of things that can take 3 health off a Force user, especially as, he doesn't get any dodges or anything on this. So it's not like his defense on this turn is any better. So, hopefully you've put Maul in a position where he can just like chill somewhere safely and play this card. Although I guess the 2 wounds happen when you play the card, not when he activates.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, forget I said that. This is a great command phase heal.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a great, like, okay, let's just, I know what you said about burst of speed, but let's just imagine that you have burst on him, and it's a great, like, I just dove, right? Like, I'm okay seating the priority because I mean, all they can do is either withdraw or try to punch me, and maybe I'm okay with that. And now I'm completely fine. So go ahead and withdraw because I'm about to mess something else up, and I'm like back up to like 5 health.
5 health, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the other thing too is, like, I think there's a possibility like more things are given immobilized tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about burst of speed, but like that sort of get out of jail free. Like, I mean, occasionally see poison. I think more you'll see immobilize.
Yeah.
And in a pinch, it could be game winning to be someone assumes you're immobilized, and then nope, I'm good to go.
Yeah, I mean, this is a perfect example. I just played a game recently, and I was playing against a CIS, and they had Maul, And there was a point where Maul was trying to like monkey with my hostage, and I had Sabine come up and whip him, and be like, nah. And then Luke dove and killed him, right? Like, I mean, and so that's not a thing anymore. Like, you know, or like at least if you see that coming, like let's say I didn't even get the whip off, but you know, you're a smart Maul player. You see I have whip on Sabine, or maybe, you know, if Boba Fett, whatever, we don't know what's happening with him, but if something better, you know, and he's got his pet and you know it's coming, and you just play that and you're like, yeah, I don't know. Like now that's done. It's so I don't know. It's cool. It's really cool.
It's a really nice get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Because you know, the immobilized tokens certainly, as you noted, are coming up more often, but generally they don't come up that often. And poison tokens are also pretty rare. But when they come up, both of those things are like absolutely devastating on a force user. And this is just like, yeah, I'm not interested. We're not. I know this is supposed to be like a hard force user counter, but yeah, I'm not really interested in that. So, yeah. And then, you know, as you said, Tim, he recovers when he activates, which is great for force push. It's great for clearing suppression. If you run him with choke, which I would actually consider for reasons that we'll get into once we get to the Darksaber, then you recover that too. So, yeah, it's great. It's a great card. This is clearly, to me, this is a clear replacement for Ambush, even though Ambush would give you 3/1 pips. I think you're taking this and you're not thinking twice about it. Yeah. Notable with these command cards, you know, as Jay said, you must nominate Shadow Collective Maul. These cannot be used by Separatist Maul, but there is no such restriction in the reverse on Separatist Maul's cards. They just say Maul. So this should be obvious from the discussion we've been having. But Shadow Collective Maul can use all 6 of Maul's cards, while Separatist Maul can only use the original 3. So,
which thematically I think
makes sense. Yeah, it'd be weird. Like if you look at like Witch Magic, you know, that's after he got his legs cut off, right? Like thematically, that'd be weird to, you know, the 6 Luke Vader cards, they kind of bleed into each other from, you know, like Return of the Jedi is a core set card, right? That belongs to Commander Luke before he's a Jedi, whatever. You know, so Full of Surprises, I think, is from Empire Strikes Back. Right. So yeah, at least the art is. I think the quote is actually from Return of the Jedi. But anyway, yeah, these are like clearly, you know, Clone Wars season 6, 7 Maul, and not Phantom Menace Maul. So yeah, it makes sense thematically. It makes sense for rules purposes. Separatist Maul certainly does not need 3 new command cards, especially ones that are this good. So yeah, his eminence. Somebody want to read that for us?
Go ahead, Tim.
You must nominate Shadow Collective Maul. Maul gains 1 dodge token. Already good. Each other trooper unit at range 1 of Maul gains 1 suppression token. When another friendly trooper unit at range 1 of Maul activates, it skips its rally step. That unit cannot be suppressed or panicked, and it gives Maul an order and another unit an order. So, just an all-around good card.
Yeah.
Kind of like complete the mission and Master of Evil had a baby.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly the suppression part is not as nearly as good as Master of Evil. Master of Evil's range 2, and it's triple the amount of suppression, right? But like as a bonus on this, you get the sort of the complete the mission effect in a range 1 bubble around Maul. So
I like so each other trooper unit. So that's your units.
That's your own units too.
Which could be bad, but also like if you have pikes, for instance, like if you have like a bunch of pikes around this, well then they have danger sense, and now they're not suppressed, so they don't care about that suppression anyway.
And they have cover, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's
so
I think
cover kind of.
It's a. I don't know how often you would get both benefits out of it, right? Against suppression on enemy units and then also on yours, but like I think it's just one of those cards that, I mean, again, you dive in and you play that card and you got to dodge, and everybody else has a suppression to start the to start that turn, which to to certain units is going to be real bad.
And this like complete the mission also on some battle or objectives. This could be held right to the last turn to ensure that everyone has 2 actions and stuff like that. The suppression also timing wise, it's not as good as Master of Evil 2 because Master of Evil is when Vader activates, so it strips suppression. Whereas this one is at the when he does the command card, so different timing.
Man, imagine playing this on the like Master of Evil's coming and you play this and you're just like, nah, everybody's gonna attack you anyways.
Yeah,
They'll have force
although
suppression, but
everybody has force suppression too, which isn't great.
But they're gonna attack you anyways.
Yeah, that's gonna be a problem on your next turn.
Yeah.
That's a next turn problem. That's a future Maul problem.
So that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the best part about this is the dodge token.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Maul is somewhat uniquely among Force users kind of dodge starved.
Yeah.
He only has 1 card that gives him a dodge before this, and it's his 1 pip. He's not like Luke that has a million cards that give him dodges. He's not like Anakin where every card gives him a dodge, or Obi-Wan. So this is huge. It's another card in his hand that gives him a dodge, and then you get these other effects as like a nice little bonus. So all right, seize what power we can. Holding the fist up.
You want to do that one, Kyle?
Sure.
It's your turn, pal.
So this one is Maul and 2 units. Notably, His Eminence is Maul in 1 unit. This one is Maul in 2 units. Maul's 2 pip, his normal Separatist Maul 2 pip lets him give out an order, I think. But generally speaking, operatives don't get like command cards that hand out orders. So the fact that these hand out orders is useful. Anyway, Maul in 2 units. You must nominate Shadow Collective Maul, place 1 aim and 3 surge tokens on this card. Each time an enemy unit at range 1 of Maul spends an aim, dodge, or surge token, place 1 token of the same type on this card. Friendly mercenary units, which presumably includes Maul himself, can spend this on this card as if their unit has these tokens.
Pretty good.
Yeah, so I mean, at worst, this is an aim and 3 surge tokens that anyone in your army can use over the course of the turn.
Yep.
Any mercenary unit. Which is pretty good by itself. And then essentially, like if Maul is close enough to your opponent's army, which it seems like you want him to be with these new cards, he's just like essentially stealing tokens for him or anyone else in your army that wants to spend it. It's a really interesting effect.
This is a kind of sort of Yoda effect.
It's like a reverse Yoda effect, kind of.
I mean, you still start the turn with a fair number of tokens.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you can just steal a quote unlimited amount of tokens theoretically.
In theory, yeah. It definitely makes your opponent think about, like, if they're now range 1 of Maul is pretty short, clearly. But if they've got a unit at range 1 of Maul, they're like, do I really want to spend the same or dodge token or surge token? Like, it's interesting. We'll see how often this kind of ends up resulting in a pile of tokens that you steal.
I mean, it's also like at minimum, like, because the most important part of dodges on Force users is being able to get the surge defense. So this is sort of another pseudo dodge card for Maul.
Right.
So because he gets 3 surge tokens. So for all intents and purposes, he is surge defend.
Yep.
So this now brings him to 3 defensive command cards.
Right, which is more than 1.
Yeah.
A lot more than 1. Arguably 4, because one of these cards heals him. So
yeah.
True. Yeah.
So yeah, this is an interesting kind of both thematic and also tactical shift for Maul, where Separatist Maul is very fragile because he doesn't have a lot of access to dodges. He generally starts out with getting in the mix with 5 wounds. So he's very like scalpel, sort of trying to poke kind of Force user, whereas this version of Maul feels a little bit more like Vader, where you just kind of want
Yeah.
him to be like blenderizing dudes in the middle of your opponent's army. And he actually kind of has the tools now to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, right? Because if he is restricted to Shadow Collective, and we don't know everything Shadow Collective's going to have yet, but based on what we're seeing, it's mostly looking like core and maybe special forces. If we haven't seen anything on the Mandalorians yet, so it's like, yeah, he may be a blender, but like we're going to talk about this later. Like, how much support is he going to have as a force
yeah,
user, right? Like, yeah, that's nice. That seems great, but I don't know. Like,
especially if you can take those other units in other factions lists with
Yeah.
other force users that can take better support,
right.
right? Like if you can take Pikes or Black Suns along with Vader or Anakin or
Right.
Dooku or whoever, Maul is going to be like sort of competing with those force users for like structurally, right?
Yeah.
And we haven't seen any strike teams or other cheap-ish things for Shadow Collective yet. So
and listen, that stuff
and maybe
may
that's a good
come,
thing.
right? And maybe it'll come down the road. Maybe we don't know, but like, I think we need to think about this. As much as they said this isn't a new faction, it kind of is. And we need to treat it as such, right? Like, none of the factions when they first came out were like ready to go and be tournament ready, in
Yeah,
in a competitive way. And that's okay, but maybe in like a skirmish, this might be really good, or but not in like an 800 point. I'm theorizing here. I don't know, right? We could be shocked at what cards and stuff are coming out. I mean, I guess they may have the A5, and who knows what other
we don't know.
other vehicles and snipers, or who knows what they're going to steal, right, for Shadow Collective. So maybe there's something that they can do, but just off the top, I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, he looks great, but
Yeah, it's going to be a little awkward because it's
Yep.
Like he might be good enough that you're looking at what is essentially a core box unit list, and it's the Maul faction, and Maul's just
Yeah.
good enough that the fact that you can only get to 9 activations or whatever isn't really that big of a deal
maybe
because
fine.
he's so good.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Right. And we don't know everything. I'm just, and listen,
Yeah.
I don't know anything. I'm just throwing out my thoughts here, which will change in 2 weeks when we get something else, right? And then I'll be like, yeah, he's gonna be the best. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah, so far, based on what we've seen, and especially given that other factions can already take, probably the same units that Maul can take.
Yep.
It looks on paper, it looks a little bit awkward structurally.
Yep.
So we'll see. These are really good cards. We haven't even said got the best one yet, the Darksaber.
What?
Yeah. So this is for those that have not seen the show, Maul uses and claims the Darksaber at one point. He uses it very effectively, much more effectively than Din Djarin, for those that have seen the Book of Boba Fett.
I did like,
yeah,
I did like the explanation in Book of Boba Fett with Mando trying to use it in the way she was explaining, like, yeah, well, because you're trying to force it, right? And I like that that kind of shows up because we've seen a version of the Darksaber already, and it's not as strong as this Darksaber, right? And so it kind of makes sense because maybe Sabine isn't as proficient and doesn't speak with it the way that Maul does,
Well, I mean, Maul's the only confirmed force sensitive wielder of the Darksaber in canon that of sort of the time that we're in.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that, I mean, the guy who's trained with a lightsaber and also can wield the force can more effectively use the Darksaber.
Yeah.
And this is me like going a little bit into canon speculation here, but so at least based on what they said in Book of Boba Fett about it, it seems like the Darksaber kind of responds to confidence, in the sense that, like, Mandalore is a very warrior based, strength focused society, and the whole thing with, like, if you want the Darksaber to respect you as if it's like half sentient, you have to like win it in combat, right? And then sort of view yourself as the leader of Mandalore. And you know, Maul's a pretty confident dude. So clearly the whole force sensitive thing, like, yeah, he can probably get much more in tune with it than somebody who's not. But also, like, if there's, of the various individuals that wield the Darksaber in canon, I would say Maul is the most like, yeah, Mandalore's mine, and y'all can deal with it.
Yeah.
That is
I
not
mean,
the attitude that
he
Din Djarin has.
he basically conquered Mandalore through force of will.
Yes, exactly. So, if the Darksaber responds to force of will and to confidence in one's own abilities to rule the planet in question, Maul is certainly chief among the Darksaber wielders in that category. So,
Yep.
Oh, and if you guys want to hear more about this, by the way, just a little self plug here for the Fifth Trooper. I would have to look up what episode it is, but if you look at the Fifth Trooper podcast, I actually interviewed Sam Witwer, the voice of Maul on Clone Wars, and we talked about that a little bit during that interview, and it was leading into when the new season came out on Disney Plus. And so if you go back to the Fifth Trooper podcast, you can go find the Sam Witwer interview, and he talks a bit about that during that interview.
Didn't he say he would come back on if there was a Legion Maul?
He did, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's busy, but
it was so stressful, man. I don't want to do that again.
I'm not saying we should have him on. Just saying,
Yeah. No,
So-
yeah. For those of you who haven't listened to it yet, it's a little behind the scenes. I'll give you is we had seen a bunch of posts, all of us, all the Legion community, like of him with like his figures, and he's painting them and he's talking about them, and like he had visited FFG at one point, and I was like, great, let's have him on and talk about Legion. And then like in our pre-interview, he was like, yeah, I haven't really played. I just like painting them and stuff. And I literally just tore up an entire like list of questions and had to like half wing the
I think it was a great interview.
Yeah, thanks.
Honestly. You should, folks that are just generally fans of Clone Wars and Rebels, should go back and listen to it, because there's a lot of GC Maul tidbits in there. I loved how he talked about the fight between Maul and Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah.
They gave me a new appreciation for it. I won't ruin it, but you should go listen to it. So
yeah, so just a little.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that when you were talking about. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he said something about that, like around that same thing too.
He did.
So yeah.
So yeah, don't listen to me. Go listen to the dude that actually plays
Darth Maul himself. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we could talk about the stats on this thing, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to explain some things to me. So go ahead. I
All right.
can read them if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Maul starts off as an operative. That's
Yep.
the symbol on his card. So when he is equipped with the Darksaber, you treat your rank as commander. You gain surge to crit and cunning. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Cunning basically means when you play a pip and your opponent plays a pip, you win. It doesn't matter because you have
there's
cunning.
no roll.
Yep. And
When you tie.
yeah, because
When you tie.
it's
Yeah.
basically you treat your card as it had one fewer pip, right?
If there's a tie.
Yeah, if there's a
Yeah.
tie.
Yep.
So then it's a sidearm melee ranged, impact 2, pierce 2. So the ranged is what I don't understand.
Saber throw.
Saber throw.
I still don't understand.
So basically what that's saying is when you equip the Darksaber, you can only use the Darksaber. Whether you hit people in melee or if you use a saber throw, you can't use the 4 red attack. You have to use the 3 black off the Darksaber.
What, and explain that? Why does that mean that?
Sidearm. Like that's what sidearm says. Like sidearm whatever means that you have to use the weapon on this card if you make that type of attack.
No, but why does it say range? Because saber throw is choose a melee weapon
and then make a
Yeah.
ranged attack with it.
and then make a ranged attack with it. But because this is already ranged, you can't. I don't.
Well, you're choosing a you have to choose a weapon that you can make attacks with, which if you have the Darksaber is the Darksaber, and then you make a ranged attack with it.
But that was because of sidearm.
Yep.
But what?
It's just to remove the ambiguity about can you take the Darksaber and still saber throw with your double-bladed lightsaber? And the answer appears to be no.
Okay.
So I think if it just said sidearm melee,
Yeah.
it would be at best confusing about whether you could saber throw with the double-bladed lightsaber. I think you'd probably be able to, but this makes it pretty clear to me that whether you're saber throwing or hacking something up in melee, if you take the Darksaber, you got to use the Darksaber. Period. Full stop.
Well, I'm glad it's clear to you because it's still not clear to me.
I think that they will have to update the sidearm language in the RRG anyway, because right now this is only on Royal Guard as far as I'm aware. And it says something to the effect of like, when this mini is added to a unit, that mini must use this weapon. I think that's not like verbatim, but it's clearly like.
Okay. Oh, this is why it says ranged. Okay, so I'm reading it here. It says sidearm melee keyword. The mini added by that upgrade can only use the weapon on the Electrostaff Guard upgrade during a melee attack. The mini may still use any available ranged weapons, such as the ranged weapon on the Imperial Royal Guard unit card during a ranged attack. So that is telling you, but this is saying may. Can only use the weapon. Okay, that's why the
Yep.
ranged is in there for saber. You're right. Now I understand.
Yep.
I needed that like phraseology. That was good. Okay.
Yeah, the TLDR of this particular part about the Darksaber is you can just like take a permanent marker and scratch off the double-bladed lightsaber on Maul's card.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So put some put some painter's tape over it.
Sorry, that took longer than probably needed to.
Yeah,
I just
no.
was not connecting the dots on that.
Yeah.
What?
No, I think that's good because a lot of people were confused about that. Some people were even like, I'm not going to name any names here, but we're like, sidearm, what a weird new keyword. That's really interesting. It was like, no, this is not actually new. That's already a keyword.
Yeah.
And
That
it does
makes sense.
yeah, and it does have impact to appears to like the double-bladed lightsaber. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's Commander Luke's lightsaber in terms of attack profile.
yes, it's identical. Yep.
Yeah. 6 black, search crit, impact to appears to.
Which is to say that it is slightly worse than the double-bladed lightsaber in melee. It is significantly worse for saber throw.
Yeah.
Once you add tenacity into the mix, it's the difference between this and the double-bladed lightsaber is pretty negligible. Clearly, the dice ceiling is relevant. Like the double-bladed lightsaber has 9 dice, and this only has 7 when you add tenacity. And the fact that you can convert hits with surge tokens on the double-bladed lightsaber. If you have surge tokens available, you'll do a lot more damage with the double-bladed lightsaber than you will with this thing. So I would say it's like 95% of the time going to be just subjectively worse attack profile wise, but you're getting and that's including the surge crit, by the way. There are times like when you're swinging at armor that the surge crit is going to be better. If you're swinging at armor and melee, I think that's the only time I can think of where that surge crit is going to net to something better than the double-bladed saber. The obvious benefit of this is cunning, which on a unit with 6 command cards, it's pretty. I mean, this is the first 6 command card character that we've seen with cunning. So,
I mean, it also makes him a commander, which is
right.
Also benefit because then you don't have to have a commander tax.
I think that's debatable.
So Kyle, how does
fair enough.
How does it?
We can talk about why if you want.
Go ahead, do that first.
Why it's debatable. So, and it's because of what we already talked about. Structurally, like we don't know what Shadow Collective looks like, right? And we don't know how much anything costs, but it's possible that it could be better, like for activation count purposes, to take 2 generics instead of Maul and a generic.
Yes.
because he's the, so far anyway, the only Shadow Collective operative that we see. So if you're talking about like filling out slots, you're moving somebody from one slot to another slot that has units in it that you might want to take.
I mean,
So,
it's the clone commander problem.
yes, exactly. If you could take a clone commander as, I'm sorry, if you had a clone commander hedged out by a different commander like Chewie, right? This is part of what makes Chewie so awkward. If you take Chewie in a Republic list, you cannot take a clone commander in that slot, which is super awkward. So, clearly we don't know what the generic commanders do yet, but it's possible that this is like I'd much rather have him in the operative slot for list building purposes kind of situation, especially if, there's, and so far both core units we've seen for this release have self-preservation. And if they can't use his courage, then, there's really like no benefit to having him as a commander rank.
I mean, there's just a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
That might fall into place once more things are known.
Yeah.
But I think Shadow Collective list building, as so far what we've seen, there's going to be a lot of different ways to do it, and it'll be interesting to see what ends up being preferred style.
Right. Yeah, it's a little. I mean, look, I'm not complaining about articles. I'm super glad that we have articles. It's a little bit disappointing that we have all these articles about these units and they still haven't told us like how we can actually use them.
Yeah.
You'd think a good article would be like, okay, here's the Shadow Collective Battle Force. Here's how you can include a mercenary unit in your army. Like everything that we know about this is from about that part of this release. Is
if I had to bet, I would put that up on the mini extravaganza. They're going to market that about a few weeks before and they say we're going to preview these, and then that's when they'll do it. So we all tune into that.
It's like a week before though.
Yeah,
I think it's literally like the week before the release.
Yeah,
is mini extravaganza.
I mean, this just feels like a very bottom up approach to reveals.
Yeah,
because they've gone from like the weakest units to the most powerful with no structure. It feels like the ideal way for players at least would be structure first, then fill it all in with units. But
right.
Listen, man, we're getting previews and we're getting articles.
We're getting previews. That's amazing.
I could care less how they do it.
Yeah,
like
not looking to get forced in the mouth.
Just glad they're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you're taking this almost always.
How does the surge to crit factor into your? Because he doesn't surge with the normal saber, right?
I factored that in.
Okay.
So this is a good quick way to do like dice math is to just add up all the paint on the dice and then divide by 8, and that's how many hits on average you get with a given pool.
Sure.
So
I'd have to actually. I don't even know how much.
Well, let me give you an example. So, a black dice has 4 hits and a surge on it.
It's
right. So for the Darksaber purposes, because that surge converts, it's 5 facings, right?
Okay.
So 5 times 6 dice is 30, and then you divide by 8, so that's 30 over 8, basically, right?
3 3/4.
Yes, which is identical to Luke. And then the double-bladed lightsaber is 4 red dice, which has 6 paint and 1 surge. So without surge conversion, that is 6 times 4, which is 24. And then 4 white dice without surge, which again, without the surge is 2 paint. So that's another 8. So that's 32 divided by 8, which is 4. So it's 32 over 8 versus 30 over 8. And that's if you account for the surge crit.
Yeah.
Now the double-bladed lightsaber has the possibility to go all the way up if you have like unlimited surge access to 40 out of 8, which is clearly like way better. And on his 3-pip turn, now he has ways to get surges. Separatist Maul also has a second training slot, which you can use for Into the Fray, which does the same thing functionally. So this is definitely worse damage-wise. Even if you
heard everything you said. Like I heard it for sure. I still don't care.
Yeah. Bottom line.
So you're telling me one is 3 3/4 and the other one's 4?
4+.
4 or more, depending on your surge token access. And, there are at least 2 cards
Tenacity.
and
It's like you were
tenacity.
doing,
But that
Um,
3/4, a good percent of the time is going to be 4, right? So
Well, it's also dice cap too, right? Like you at most with this you can do 6 hits, 7 with tenacity. The double bladed lightsaber can spike all the way up to 9 with tenacity, which is relevant having played a lot of Maul. So,
all right.
and the surge conversion really benefits the double bladed lightsaber.
Well, and let's not forget it is black dice, and they do not show up when you think they're going.
They
to.
don't.
Well,
Yeah, it's really fickle.
I was gonna say too, like the double bladed lightsaber has the sort of the floor of the 4 or 5 red.
Yep.
And that kind of like it's like, oh, you have 2 or 3 minis left in this unit. The double bladed lightsaber can very reliably take that out.
Yep.
Whereas the Darksaber could completely whiff on 1 or 2 minis.
Yep.
Way more
Definitely.
often.
Yeah, those that have played a lot of Commander Luke feel that
Yeah.
pain of rolling 1 or 0 paint.
Dude, even operative Luke sometimes does
Yeah,
that.
those red dice. I'm sorry, those black dice are.
Yeah.
They're fickle sometimes.
They really
Um,
are.
But yeah, it's as we mentioned already. The saber throw is the biggest difference. Like the Darksaber saber throw is way worse than
Yep. Right.
the double bladed lightsaber saber throw. So, but you're getting cunning. So,
And search crit.
and right. But I'm factoring the surge crit into the difference
right,
between the 2
and,
profiles.
all right. It just feels better.
it
don't know.
does,
It just feels better.
and it's better against armor.
It's
But that's
better
about the
against-
only time that it's actually
Because
better.
against armor, you're doing 3.5 past the armor.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Is the impact 2 plus the
Plus
1.5
the yeah.
crits.
right.
Yeah.
It's twice as many crits against armor.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, man! It's way too late for me to be thinking. Well, man.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's talk about builds real quick because basically you have 2 options. You can either build him like Separatist Maul, which the quote unquote standard way to do that right now is
Yep.
push, saber throw, tenacity into the fray, right?
But you can't do that.
So you can't do that because you can't take 2 training slots, and you probably don't want to take saber throw if you're taking the Darksaber. So you could either do that if you're not taking the Darksaber, or you could take the Darksaber, and then I think that kind of switches up the other slots a little bit because you don't want to take saber throw probably. So I think you can take choke there or burst of speed. Either of those 2 seems good.
Yep.
Or like barrier if you want to play some weird defensive Maul, I guess.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
mean, I also think like theoretically, from what we've seen, the bus is available in
Yep.
Shadow Collective, so you could easily see some like force push, force choke, Darksaber Mauls in the bus. You could
Yep.
also see like theoretically the upgrades will be carried over too, so there'll be a Bannock in the bus, so you could easily see a like force push, force choke.
Oh wow!
Maul's gonna jump in the middle, and you're gonna have 2 wounds you can heal with a command card, and then a bus with a medic in it following behind, just keeping him healthy. So
That's pretty gross. Not gonna lie.
Now think about his range 1 if he's in the bus with that suppression thing.
Yeah. And the token stealing thing.
Yeah, that's a lot bigger of a range now.
Yeah. Yeah, so essentially this becomes like melee Maul. You probably want tenacity in that first slot because you're already converting the surges anyway. And he doesn't have a second training slot. So but he does have a command slot, which is there any reason to like ever put something besides vigilance in here? I guess esteemed leader, maybe.
I don't know. It depends on what Allies of Convenience does.
I don't think it would stack.
I mean,
So
I guess we don't know about that.
It
Yeah.
might, like if it's stacked,
it
could
says
get
you may
interesting.
include 1 additional. So
but it's not like it's not Allies Convenience X.
I don't
So
know.
anyway, yeah, I think it's esteemed leader or vigilance most of the time.
I have a hard time like not putting vigilance in here.
Yeah, I would say it's like 90-95% of the time vigilance.
Yeah, I think I'd have like a seizure if it's not vigilance. Um,
Because I mean, even if you're not vigilancing Maul, there's a lot of units in Shadow Collective that want to be vigilanced.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, exactly. You could potentially bring 3 copies of vigilance.
Yes, you could.
In a shadow, if you take him as an operative and you
Yep.
put vigilance in here, just take 6 pikes with 3 copies of vigilance. And I don't think I bought enough pikes for that. That sounds kind of gross.
Well, guess who's ordering more pikes? I guess.
Yeah.
Good news. Those are still available for pre-order.
All right. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I might just have to go grab one of those.
But I think in short, Maul sort of traditional Maul or sort of mini Vader is sort of your
Yep.
2 modes that are sort of obvious right off the bat.
Yep, I agree. There might be other ways that people build them. I'd be excited to see those. Like I said, I think maybe you could do some kind of like barrier defensive Maul situation. I don't know. Barrier's a really good upgrade, but this Maul seems like he kind of wants to be in your opponent's army and not yours. So anyway, that was a super long discussion about Maul. Do we want to punt the
Yeah.
Okay.
I was looking at the time going, dude, we're already an hour and
Yeah.
5 minutes in. Like, nah, man, I'm good.
It's fine. Let's just be the Maul episode about the Maul
Well,
faction.
Yeah.
And we could do up close and personal and then
Oh yeah, let's do that
Yeah.
real quick.
yeah.
Because I know Jay was very excited about this one.
I was until I realized I had to give up something. But yeah, so up close and personal is a training upgrade. And it is after you perform a ranged attack at range 1 to 2, gain a dodge token, 1 dodge token, and that's for 5 points. Sabine's in the picture. I like
Yep.
it on Sabine, but yeah, in my list, sees the initiative's way more important than two dodges because a lot of times she's not shooting as much as you'd like her to shoot, anyways. But
Yep.
man, this has some really neat stuff for Han and like some other units, that I think could really take advantage of this.
Potentially. So it is possible, as you already mentioned, Gunslinger, right? There are ways to get more than 1 dodge with this card. If you're making multiple attacks, Gunslinger is like the obviously, like you said, Sabine's on the card.
Yep.
You're clearly making 2 attacks with Gunslinger. I think this would give you 2 dodge tokens. So Han and Sabine, I don't see why this wouldn't work with Saber Throw, right?
Mhm.
So if you have a Force user like Anakin that pretty much always takes Saber Throw or Separatist Maul, I could see this on that if you're doing a lot of saber throwing. Anakin in particular, right? Because he almost always has saber throw. He does it a lot. He has a strictly better version of deflect. So dodge tokens on him are more valuable than even like a normal deflect Force user. And he can share his dodge tokens to other units. So it's not like a waste if he has a giant pile of dodge tokens on him.
Yep.
So
all right. So what if you ready?
Yep. I think I know where you're going with this.
You could what if you put it on Grievous?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you're trained by your Jedi arts, and you just shoot a bunch of stuff and get a shit ton of dodge tokens. Oh my god.
His gun has versatile as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you could shoot out
So-
of melee to get a
yeah,
dodge
so-
token while you're in melee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so even in normal melee, it's like, oh, I really only want to use 1 lightsaber. Well, use your gun, shoot out, you get a dodge with that action as well.
Oh,
So it's
man,
like-
he needs that bad too.
He does. He
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
It's really awkward though, because like don't get me wrong. I think you're doing this just for the meme on Grievous. So that you can play training your Jedi arts and just put like an 8 dodge token stack next to
Yeah.
him. But like he only has 1 training slot, and he also wants, I think arguably requires endurance.
Mhm.
Other training upgrades that are really good on him: tenacity, into the fray. I'm forgetting one. Anyway, he needs like 4 training slots for
Yeah.
situational
Yeah.
awareness if you're having this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you definitely, like, if you're going to run Grievous, you take this because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that it makes him
Ah,
competitive.
it's just fun.
It makes
It's
him fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
I
I'm-
think there's some options in there somewhere. I don't know about competitive,
I-
but I think it's definitely interesting.
it definitely helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like
I mean,
the big thing on that one pip turn is going in there, dropping a bunch of suppression, maybe killing some stuff, and then like he's got to sit there and basically tank an entire turn's worth of shots. Which, if you give this to him, now he can do. He might panic on the next turn.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the other thing, okay, I know they're going to make changes to Boba Fett, but you could put up close and personal and the prepared supplies on Boba Fett, and then you could get a bunch of dodges that way to keep him alive because he always
Yeah.
has that problem too.
and he does have 2 training slots, so you could run
Yeah.
this with situational awareness if you really wanted to.
Yep.
I do think the sort of the most obvious best case scenario right off the bat is for like on Han, because he likes those dodges, and also he can then send some dodges over to Chewie while he's at it too.
Yep, 2 dodges for Han, 2 dodges for Chewie.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's too bad Han only has 1 training slot, because this with situational awareness would actually be like super tanky Han.
Yeah.
Vigilance,
But-
situational awareness, and this on Han.
and low profile, right?
yes,
No,
on top of low
so-
profile. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, Han's gotten surprisingly tanky, surprisingly quickly.
I'm really interested in Han. Yeah, he's on my short list for. He's definitely not on my short list for ACO.
Waffle.
I'm
Waffle.
just trying to be cagey. Yeah, at this point, there's 3 lists basically for ACO, and it's going to depend on what I have painted. So I've
Man,
decided I'm not messing around this time.
I can't figure out how to make ACO work. I wanted to like at first everyone was like, nah, we're not going to ACO. It's really expensive. Screw it. And then everyone's like, no, I'm going now. Like, oh man, like all right, I already picked mine.
Yeah, it's only 4 hours drive for me, so it's
Yeah.
a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
I'll be on the farm.
Yep. Anyway, yeah, super exciting upgrade, up close and personal. Lots of units that could benefit from this. So
Yeah.
Yep.
I do
Rex.
think Rex, yeah. I mean, I don't think it makes Rex like
No, but
it's
helpful.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I would totally take this on Rex. I don't know. There's a lot of units that this is super interesting on.
Yeah. I mean, all the new stuff is great.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about everything. And it seems we haven't played it yet, but everything seems very reasonably priced too.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean that it's cheap. I just mean like, yeah, that seems reasonable to me. That's a good price for that, you know?
Yeah, it's not like an auto take, but it's something that's like super
Yeah.
interesting. Like this at 5 points, right? Like 5 points that's an expensive training upgrade. Most training upgrades are 4 or less. Except endurance for some reason. But yeah, 5 points is, this is a lot for a training upgrade in a competitive slot. So yeah, this one's good. I like prepared supplies at 5.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm really enjoying, like, we're starting to see enough decent upgrades that a lot of slots are not just plug in one upgrade for
Yeah.
whatever unit. Like, there's a lot of units now that have like 2 slots and 3 upgrades, or 1 slot and 2 or 3 upgrades that all you want to take together to make decisions and sacrifices, and
it'd be nice
makes
to
those
see
building a lot more interesting.
some more melee upgrades. Like right now, it's basically like tenacity is the melee upgrade, right? Like it's
Yeah.
literally the only melee upgrade that improves your melee damage.
Yeah.
So there are ones like that, and offensive push is kind of the ranged equivalent of that. There are ones like those too, where yes, you see them a lot, but also there's not really anything else that does like something similar to what they do, right? Like
Yep.
Yeah.
one of
I
those
wonder-
improves your melee damage, one of them improves your
Yeah.
anything damage, I guess. So
I wonder too, that prepared supplies with the cash really sets a precedent to start, what other tokens can we just,
Yeah.
put in on a card, so that's pretty interesting as
Yeah.
well.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, cash is a really interesting keyword.
Yeah, and like, are there going to be things that would let you like add more to a cached card, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it's funny how it's worded and how it's used, right?
Yep.
Why wouldn't you just give a dodge to something? Why is it on that card? You know, so I think there's going to be some interesting play with that. So that sounds a lot of fun.
I think clones are the answer to that question.
Yeah. Right, because it's not in play, so they can't.
Yeah, so you can't share it if it's not in play. Yeah.
And that has been confirmed.
That you can't share it if it's not in play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very excited. And
Cool.
I now have stats for my tactical rock maul that I'm going to enjoy painting very much. He's going straight to the top of my pile of shame.
It seems interesting that the model has both the Darksaber and his red lightsaber in its hand, when technically speaking, he can't use both.
Well, I think
Blah, blah, blah. Gotcha, Tim.
It's not his double-bladed lightsaber though.
I know.
No.
This is the lightsaber that he uses as well. Savage Oppress has his double-bladed lightsaber.
Yeah.
So I think you could argue that the Darksaber includes the normal single-bladed red lightsaber in its attack profile, and he's dual wielding.
I mean, I'm sure there's also options. Like, I'm hoping that there is an option for just the Darksaber, because I have my regular Maul with his double-bladed. So I would just paint up just a Darksaber and have whatever version of Maul I'm using on that day, put that model on the table.
Yeah, you mean like sculpting options that include just the Darksaber? I mean, even just looking at this one, it seems like you could just kind of cut the other lightsaber out of that hand, and then he's just got like a hand behind him, you know.
Yeah.
And it probably would look fine.
That
just is more effort.
I know. I think it looks cool with both of them. And,
yeah. I'm just saying.
I mean, I always play around with the sculpts and dry fit stuff.
Yeah.
See what looks good.
Well, and that's that question always seems to come up on the Facebook group, like, is Star Wars WYSIWYG? And this is a perfect example of how it isn't, right? Like, it's just,
Well, and I'm getting enough core sets to do multiple versions of Maul. So,
yep.
Yeah, I'm very excited. All right. Any final thoughts?
No.
Invader League Single Elims is coming up. There'll be streams aplenty, I'm sure.
Yep.
We got to ready up by Thursday, right? With our list.
Don't forget to do that.
Oh God. I mean, I know what list I'm playing. I just got to remember to do that.
Yep.
No secrets here.
I am fully aware of what list I'm playing, but also all completely unaware of what list I'm playing.
Excellent.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
There's nothing to see here.
You all have to just commit. That's what I'm doing. Full on commitment.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I admire that.
It got me this far so far. So,
Yeah. Ain't broke, don't fix.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's end this bad boy. We are the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Kyle.
I'm Jay, and I'm second.
And I'm Timbo.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.